Rolling with the homies. Rolling with the homies.
All right.
Clueless reference, I'm fine.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's rock.
Hey, everyone. I'm Shannon.
I'm Alexis.
And we're welcoming you back to another episode of Get Stiff.
Get Stiff is a podcast where we have conversations around grief, loss, and everything in between over cocktails. Each episode coincides with a themed cocktail, and we share the recipe with our listeners.
So today, we're welcoming Michael to the studio with us. And if you're in the industry, chances are you already know this guy. And even if you're not, you've seen his face on Instagram and TikTok. From creating gingerbread house crematories to doing parkour in the funeral home, he not only keeps us laughing, but he keeps us talking. Michael is a funeral director, business owner, podcast host, and nonprofit founder, and we are thrilled to have him here with us today.
Thank you. That was too nice. I don't deserve any of the list of things, but I will take it.
And today's cocktail is called the Mamie Taylor. It's a mix of scotch and ginger beer. And like today's guest, it also hails from Chicago. Will we love it? Will we hate it? Let's find out together. So if you're ready, let's raise a glass.
Oh, I like the toxic.
Thank you. Take a sip. Oof. And let's get into it. Thank you for joining us today, Michael. So excited.
Oh, so am I. It's a real treat. It's a delight to get to talk with you both. I enjoy our friendship that we've developed, and it's an honor to get to talk with both of you. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Also, I love this. It's kind of like a Moscow Mule, but with a little extra kick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
those are my favorite.
Yeah.
I didn't have lime, so we went the lemon route, and I probably botched it, but it's good.
It works. I think the citrus is what. It's the citrus.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? I think we should just dive on into it. That's how we roll over here. So,
Love it.
Michael, when people think of funeral homes and the people who work there, nobody really considers the marketing aspect of it. Aside from pre-planning and, those seminars and like the church fans and the old school kind of promotional products, techniques that, funeral directors from eons ago have been using, it hasn't really changed much. So what sparked your interest in digital marketing options for funeral homes?
Great question. Well, my brother and I wanted to start a business together. Like you said before, I am a funeral director. I come from 4 generations of funeral directors, so I'm 100 years plus in the making, if you will. But my brother did not get into the industry. He went a different route. He went the digital marketing, advertising. He worked for Walt Disney, ABC, ESPN, things like that. And we combined our efforts, and we found that the funeral industry was desperately in need of some rejuvenation, especially on the promotion side of things for specific funeral homes, because like you said, Shannon, it was very old school way of doing things. And we started running different advertising methods that most funeral homes would not touch previously back in the day. And it worked so successfully that we're like, we need to scale this out and help out more funeral homes, bring in business to the ones that were well equipped to handle more business. So that is generally how it began on a high level. We tried some different things. We had a lot of fun along the way, and made some good content because we're wanting to do that. We like to spice things up and make it more interesting, because that's really what resonates with people. And that's how we got started with our marketing agency along the way.
Nice. I love that. I love that brotherly love connection.
I know.
I have a brother, and I don't know. I love him. I don't know if I could start a business with him.
I could never. I think about my brother and my sisters too. I'm like, no.
I had to. I'm from 4 generations of family members working together. I don't know anything else but to start a business with someone in my family. It's like it's a mandatory thing.
And it's interesting that he had like no interest in the funeral industry, right? He was like, nope, good, no, thank you.
No, he didn't. He went a completely different route, and he felt this sort of itch, which I felt many years prior, like to getting into the funeral industry. He felt like he wanted to get into to help with our business on the business side of things. And then we realized we wanted to shoot for the stars a little bit more. We're both have high aspirations and like to take action and do things a little bit different, a little more unique. And that's sort of how he came in. But he didn't want anything to do with being in the prep room or meeting with families or things like that. He's very analytical and very good at what he does, and so that's how we were able to channel our two different ways of approaching life and making it work for something that is pretty special.
Even if he's not interested in the industry, I think that still very much speaks to that family dynamic that you guys must have, or even that pull to still want to help in some capacity, even if it's not necessarily being in full PPE in the back. If his life is not all, trocars and eye caps, but he still has that desire to serve in some way, to give back and to service the community. So that's still very cool that it's still very much there.
No, and I was saying it's still what he's doing in a way is still very much a part of the funeral industry. It's necessary and it's needed. So like Shannon said, he doesn't have to be, getting dirty like some of us, but in his own way, he's still, finding his way to contribute to the family business, which is really special.
Absolutely, and I feel very lucky to have him in my life. We're best friends too, on top of being brothers and business partners. We're together. We used to be roommates too, so it was too much.
It was a little much.
We gotta sleep in different houses at some point. He was married. It was time to go. But I'm very lucky to have him, and he does. Enjoy giving back just as much as I do. We both really that's part of our DNA. I feel like a lot of us in funeral service have that energy where we want to give back to people, and we like to think we're carrying on our family's legacy just in a different way. We're still in funeral service and we're still helping families and still helping people, just in a different capacity, in a different form.
Absolutely. And it's the shift that the industry desperately needs. Like, as someone, I also took a break from the industry some time ago and worked in tech for a bit. I worked in a few startups, and trying to marry the two has been my passion for a very long time, to try to pair the two and really find a way to serve these families whilst not living back in, 1948. Like I saw that clip of you speaking to, I forget who you were interviewing, but you were speaking about using a typewriter in the funeral home. And it's just like, why are we still doing that?
I know. And it happens more than you think. Like, people are still doing those methods of things. And I just don't understand why, but it is what it is. And I think people like us trying to move things forward, it just helps as a collective whole get to the level that we should be on. And it seems like, for me, I've been doing this for 10 years, and the differences that I've seen since I first went to mortuary school to now, they're pretty immense. Things are very different now, and they will continue probably even exponentially more, which is a good thing. And we need to evolve, and that's going to help us to help families more.
And I love, it got me thinking actually just now. I love that kind of making that jump and marketing and helping other funeral homes in that way. I think your family business is sort of ahead of the game, because that aversion to stepping into modern times and really bringing technology into your business, I think you kind of are ahead of the game in that regard, because I think that's what's causing a lot of funeral homes to struggle, because now there's this need for it. There's this whole new generation of people making arrangements for their families. And we, as funeral providers, can't give them what they need or can't meet them in the middle. And now I feel like a lot of funeral homes are scrambling to do that.
Yeah, and it's a scary thing too for a funeral director, because we're doing so many things and we operate and own our own business, and we're meeting with families, we're in the prep room, we're going on funerals. It is a chaotic day, as we all know. And it's scary to think that, oh my God, I have to figure out a way to market and advertise this funeral home. I have to figure out how to run ads online. How do I attract people to come to my funeral home from just our website or from our Google listing? Like, that is an overwhelming thing for funeral directors to think about. And we just don't have the capacity to do it. And most of the time, no, like we don't get into this business to do that. Like that's the last of our priorities. And unfortunately, like that's the thing that's going to get your funeral home to the next level. It's going to get your funeral home to the next generation if you're generational. And you see this all the time where it's worked for 100 years. Like, why would we change anything? And it's like, that's not going to be the way forever. It's time that we need to take things up a notch. And that's what we're trying to do.
I love that. But speaking of taking things up a notch, so if you could give one piece of advice to a struggling funeral home, what would it be?
A funeral home specifically, or a funeral director, I guess?
Funeral home.
Funeral home. I guess like the easiest thing you could do, like this is tangible stuff that anyone can do. I think asking your families to give their feedback is so crucial and for so many reasons. Asking for like a Google review, for example, a Facebook review, or a 5-star review, and then leaving a little blurb about their experience and pictures, whatever you want to do, that goes such a long way. All of us know, all of our listeners know here that, like, let's say you're going out, for example, to a restaurant. You don't know where to go, or you're out of town. I was just in Brazil. How do you think we're finding these places that we're going to go to for dinner or something? You're going online, you're searching, you're scrolling through those reviews. Everyone's looking, making sure that they have high number of reviews and high quality. So like, 4.7, 4.8, ideally, if you can, 4.9, et cetera. That's how people are finding it. So our funeral homes, we can ask those families. I know it's another task that you have to do. I know it's another thing on the list. But imagine if someone doesn't know who to use. They want to use someone that's reputable, that they can take advice from other people that have actually had an experience at your funeral home. So I think that's an easy thing that we can do, is just ask. It's not hard. Most of the time when the family has a good experience, they want to give back to you. So just ask them for that. It's just the little tiny things that's going to make a big difference. And over time, and especially over a long time, over years, it's going to be a huge difference in the amount of impact that's going to have on the business coming in. It's like that snowball effect. The more you have, the more people come in, the more you can ask, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Absolutely. Look at humble brag. I just got back from Brazil. That's why he's so tan, y'all.
I get a little rose on the nose. I want to talk about my trip in some way. All right, I do have to tell you a story. So we're in Brazil. This has nothing to do with funeral service, but it's a great story. We're in Brazil, and we went out to dinner. Of course, we used Google reviews. We found that dinner. We come back, and we're in the middle of the rainforest, and we're in this Airbnb. Come back, and we open the door into the kitchen, and there is food everywhere, or not food, crumbs everywhere, in boxes all ripped open from all the food we had. And we're like, oh my gosh, like what happened? And we go through the house, and there is, poop everywhere. It's all these scraps everywhere. And then we realized one of the windows were left open. A pack of monkeys got into the house. And everything open. It was insane.
Personally, I love that you apologize for saying poop. We have the little E. You can say, if you curse, it's fine.
Okay. I'm not a full halfway through, so that's it.
But just we have the little E on our listed on our show, so you're totally fine.
Absolutely.
But that was incredibly endearing.
I hear those monkeys are ruthless.
Right?
They're in like Thailand. That's why I hear that they have some attitudes on them.
They do. They were banging on the windows trying to get in. They're ruthless for sure.
Oh my goodness!
There were a
dozen of them.
So they were still in. They were still in your room when you guys got back, or
no? Thankfully, we went in there and we're like, okay. We opened the door. We saw something was wrong, and we're like, okay, let's grab some. I think there were a couple pots or pans from outside. Let's make some noise to try and see if anything's still in here. And monkeys were tapping on the windows all day while we were at the house. So we were like, we know it's of course the monkeys that got in.
Oh, they were warning you. They were like,
we're ready.
Yeah, it's go time. We gave them a nice treat though, so they were probably happy.
Yeah.
After the fact, yeah. They stole from you.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
They
hungry
were
little
lucky.
babies. That's all. They were just hungry little
Hmm.
babies. That's all.
Yes, they were.
Interesting segue, but speaking of babies, you
Oh,
in 2020 you founded the Baby Spirit Foundation. So I know we're shifting gears a little bit here. Would you mind telling us a little bit about your journey to start that foundation?
yeah, it's super near and dear to my heart. We're a foundation. We do free funeral services for families that lost their baby during pregnancy. Something that I didn't realize how prevalent it was when I first became a funeral director. I always knew that there was a chance that you could lose your baby along your pregnancy, and I think everyone's aware of that. But when I started, making transfers from hospitals and things, I was like, my goodness, why are we having to pick up and help this many families that are losing their babies? This is insane. Like I had no idea the amount of people that it impacts, because people don't talk about it, which is part of what we try to do, is to encourage people to open up and so they can get some support, because it is a tragic loss. You're anticipating something so beautiful and it gets taken away from you. It's just a horrible thing. And I felt the need to do something about it. My family has offered free funeral services for these families since my grandfather. So it's been, over 50 years of it. And I do know that that is not a thing everywhere, because, and this is not a dig at funeral homes, because it costs money to do all these things. And it's a lot of time and a lot of effort that you have to put in to have a funeral service for anyone. It doesn't matter if it's a 100-year-old person or a baby. But I felt that everyone should have access to what my family was doing for these families, and a lot of other funeral homes do this too. And eventually, we want to create something where we could partner with more funeral homes, so they don't have to take the blunt of the costs of providing this beautiful service for families. So, yeah, we started that. That's 4 years ago now, which is hard to believe, and we've helped. Over almost 100, no, it's 150 families in
Wow.
Chicago. And we're hopefully going to help a lot more. We have big aspirations to get out there and try to help as many families as possible, to give them access for going through such a tough thing. So
I think that's
That's
absolutely beautiful.
amazing.
thanks.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
I think you're absolutely right. I've worked in several funeral homes that offered these services for free, and
Mhm.
it wasn't until I worked for one that didn't, that because I thought they were just free everywhere. I thought that was the norm until I worked
Mhm.
somewhere that didn't, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean?
Uh,
Some places won't even
yeah.
accept fetal remains because they're worried about the liability of there not being any anything left, little to anything left.
Yeah.
Mhm. And I know we've talked about this before, but again, I believe that transparency trumps compassion. And I think if you explain that to a family and say there is a chance that X, Y, and Z may happen, or there's a chance that you may get only a couple of tablespoons, are you okay with that? And let them decide. I think a lot of funeral directors come from a place of love and wanting to protect the families, but I think sometimes we can do them a disservice by not giving them all of the information, because we have the information, we know, but we
Mhm.
want to protect them. And I think in sugarcoating and in protecting them, we don't we run the risk of them walking away with that sense of I didn't know I could do that. And we want to make sure we walk that line. So I think you're doing that beautifully. I think that's just absolutely incredible, which is why we wanted to talk about that for sure. But I thought that was absolutely amazing.
Thanks.
And
It's a
we'll
hard
put a
thing.
link in the episode notes for the people to take a look at what you guys are doing.
Yeah, you can take a look and help those families. And we want to do it more, because, like you're saying, Shannon, there's a lot of funeral homes that do it, and it's a hard thing when you're very busy and you have a million things to do, and sometimes you have a loss of a baby that's at a hospital that's far away. Like that, it is a very time consuming thing, and we know that the more time you're spending on doing different things, you're taking you away from your other parts of your job. So it is challenging, and you see funeral homes all the time. My funeral home included back in the day, where if we had a loss at a certain hospital that was all the way, 10, 12 miles away. In Chicago, that'll take you like 2.5 hours. So we would have to say, I'm sorry, maybe you could try a funeral home that's located a little bit closer to where you had your loss. And that happens all the time because families will call around like they're not expecting this, so they don't have the financial capabilities maybe to cover it, or there are a million different reasons why. And it's a really tough thing, and anything that we can do to make their lives a little bit easier when they're going through something like that is what it's all about. I think you got to give back. I feel so lucky that I've gotten so much abundance in my own life that I really enjoy giving back. It gives me the most amount of happiness. So that's a little bit of that.
It was early. We're going to pause.
Is this a surprise guest?
No, she's our next guest. She's a little early.
We could join in. We'll do a.
I know, right?
Episode.
Hey, boo, you're a little early. 6:30. I'll see you in a bit, babes. For the sake of our livers, so we record multiple episodes when we do record. For the sakes of our livers.
All right, back to back. That's a good idea.
But sometimes, not
usually. We've had a few.
Well, it's helpful once we have like the juices flowing too. It just makes it easier, and like you're already all set up. It's helpul.
Well, and you're the perfect one to start. Yeah, and you're the perfect one to start with because we know you already.
Yeah, that's true. It makes it easier.
Okay, so we absolutely love the Mortuary Show over here. It's a fun way to hear stories from our colleagues around the country and know that we aren't alone, even though sometimes it can feel that way. But would you share one of your favorite stories about working in the industry with us? Because we would love to hear your perspective.
Okay. Do you want funny? Do you want scary?
We want whatever brings your heart joy and whatever you are comfortable being out in the public.
All my stories do. I'll give you my number. I'll give you my number one favorite story to tell.
All right.
I'm out on a funeral. We're heading back in the hearse, and we get a first call. So someone just passed away. They passed away in their home. It was an older lady. So we run back to the funeral home. We just put our cot, their gurney, into the hearse. Go to make the transfer from this individual's house. When we get there, we realize that they did not speak any English. I believe, I think they were Vietnamese, and there had to be 60 family members there, and the house was packed. And there was one nephew that spoke English, and he's like, "Oh, come this way," like grandma or auntie or whatever is in the other room, in the bedroom. So we bring the cot through. It's on the first floor, but it's in this corner. It's like an L shape. So any of us morticians know that if you have that situation, if you have the breakdown cots, you have push over your head and you finagle into the room. She was on the ground, okay, when she passed away. So we lower the cot down to the ground, place her so delicately onto the stretcher, zip her in peacefully. It's a professional job. It's going perfectly. I go, and I'm the one that usually presses up overhead, and I squat down from the bottom, and I proceed to rip my pants from my groin all the way to the back. Okay. And mind you, I cannot put her down. I'm going through. Oh my God. Oh my God. And I'm crying. I'm laughing, embarrassed. I'm more red than I am now from sunburn, and I can't put her down. And I go through. I don't know what to do. I thank God I was wearing underwear. Is all I'll say. And I get through. Thankfully, the family starts erupting in laughter. Everyone's erupting and laughing. They thought it was the funniest thing. We broke all language barriers that day with the we snaked out of there just fine.
Oh my God.
Alexis, you know what that reminds me of?
Do I want to know what it reminds you of?
Do you remember that time? So again, we used to work together. Do you remember that time? And I'm going to not give as many identifying details. So there was a visitation that was going on, and I had to go into the chapel to get something from the family. So I had the folder. Let me preface this by saying I do not wear button-down shirts in the funeral home ever. I don't do it. I don't do it. I don't do it. You're about to find out why I don't do it. So
Okay.
I go in, talk to the family, and I don't remember if like the wife dropped something or whatever, but I bent over to pick it up, and one of the buttons on my shirt, one of the ones dead center, decided just to say, "I quit today,"
I,
and it just went and just
Boom.
popped off. And so thankfully, I have like a folder, like a case folder. So I'm holding up, talking to her, and then I'm walking out. I walk the wife out, and I see Alexis at the front, and she's like, "Oh, here, I can put that in the back." I said, "No, I got it." And she's like, "No, it's fine. No, I got it."
I was like, what is going on?
No, I got it. It's fine. No, and usually she, would take the stuff and like start working on the back, or in the family. Well, one of us is with the family. And
yeah.
I was just like, no, it's fine. It's fine. Thankfully, the family, I mean, if they noticed, they were like really classy about it. The pain is real. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, yes. You haven't been in the industry long enough if you haven't ripped a garment of clothing.
True that. To some capacity, yeah, for sure.
That's absolutely.
Absolutely. So, that being said, using just one word, what do you hope people take away from your work and the content that you create?
One word.
Wow.
That's a great question. And I didn't write it. Alexis wrote it. That's an excellent question.
Well, you didn't hear my answer. I said, wow.
Oh, wow is the word? Is wow your
Wow.
You know what? Actually, maybe it will be. No, it's not. It's not wow. That was wow to the question. Passion. Passion.
Good one.
Yeah, I think that would go for every aspect of what I try to bring to everything I do. And what I think resonates with people is when you're doing things that you're fired up about and you're passionate about, it shows. And that goes for many people that are in the line of work that we all are in. You can't be in it if you don't have some sort of passion for it, because it'll spit you out. You'll be done 6 months, you're gone. So I think you have to have that inside of you to be able to get through the hard times and the good times. And I think that's what life is all about too. If you want to get philosophical, I think following what makes you happy and what pleases you and what brings you that passion, it makes life more worth living on a day-to-day basis, which we know is short.
poetry snaps?
Well said. Well said.
Like I knew you were going to ask that, Alexa.
But you know what? I think you're absolutely right. And I think that at least from what we've seen, even before, kind of getting to know you a little bit, we see that in the content that you create. And yes, like it's all fun, it's funny. And sometimes we poke fun at ourselves, at the industry, but the passion comes through, wanting to spread the word, wanting to make it seem a little less scary for families, and kind of I think like Alexa said before, kind of just lifting the veil, or like allowing people to see behind and show that we are not this, we're not Lurch, we're not the Addams Family. Some of us maybe, Alexis, but
Don't speak for me.
But in terms of dealing with families and helping guide them through, a really tumultuous time, we are there to help. And I think that videos like that and bringing in the humor and bringing in some levity to a very heavy discussion, I think it makes people feel more comfortable. It shows that you are a person that wants to help, and you're not this like money hungry, grubby, creepy person or creepy persona that people, I think funeral directors are. And I see so many more people are starting to kind of have those conversations and open those doors. And I think it's really important, especially where the industry is going now. And I think it's just very cool that you're doing that, for sure.
Thank you. And that was really well said. And I think it's all about just being your true self. And it just that's what really connects with people and resonates is just be yourself, like be your goofy self, be your funny self, be your weird self, be your dorky self. And like that's what it's all about. And I don't think hiding behind that or hiding behind the work that we do is doing anyone any favors besides causing questions and making people think that you aren't doing things appropriately, which because that's just not the case. And people get the wrong idea when they see different things in the news and whatever else. They see the one out of the 10 million cases or whatever. I'm could be exaggerating, but
Mhm.
that's what people see, and then it just gets everyone gets masked. So I think when we break out of that and show our true selves, show that we are normal, good, genuine people, it makes all the difference when we're thinking about the families that we're helping.
Absolutely.
Yep, exactly. You want to ask the last question, Shan?
You have
No.
another
You
bingo
got
for
it.
me? Oh my
You got
goodness.
it. We're giving each
You want
other
me
the
to ask?
eye.
All right.
All right,
I'll bring it home for you. You ready? Yeah. Take a drink.
let's go.
All right. Ready? So, how do you want to be remembered?
How do I want to be remembered? I think I touched on it just now a little bit that I want to be just known for being the person who I am. I like to help other people. I like to be genuine and show my authentic nature, and I like giving. I think that is what life really comes down to. You hear this all the time about people that are quote unquote successful, financially successful, and then they get to later on in their life and they see that they really want to give back. You see this all the time when they've won the quote unquote game. Everyone wants to give back, and I feel very lucky that I feel that sense inside of me already that I want to help others. I want to give back. I want to entertain. I want to provide some relief for people that are going through things. I want to help. I want to help funeral homes that are struggling. Like that is what it all comes down to for me is being able to be a resource and a help. And it's selfish because it gives me joy. Like it
Mhm.
sounds all fluffy and nice, but it brings me legitimate joy. So I feel like I want to do more of it, and it just works in a reciprocal fashion because the more I'm able to do it, the more I want to, and the more it makes a difference. And I hope to only just be getting started. And um, yeah, I guess that's what I would like to be known for.
That's beautiful.
It is. That's our
Thank
favorite
you.
question because I think, especially for folks in the industry, I think we spend so much time trying to help families remember their loved ones that I think we don't really place much thought into what we want to leave behind.
Mm.
And I think that's absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing. That was wonderful.
Yeah,
So,
it's a
Alexis,
hard question, but it's a good
Alexis, I'm
one.
going to try. I'm going to try. We're going to try to squeeze it on in.
Okay, come on,
All
let's go.
right. So, one of our favorite things to do this season that we've introduced is we go to the depths of the trenches of the gutters of Reddit and we pull out Am I the Asshole Funeral Edition. Are you ready?
It's so fun.
Are you
Go,
ready?
tell me what's happening.
Okay. My relationship with my mother was super complex. So when I went to share on Facebook instead of messaging my friends one by one, I thought it'd be disingenuous to post something sappy that indicated otherwise. Instead, I posted something moderately flippant, but not an actual joke, with the announcement. Almost all the responses that I got were standard sympathy, except for one cousin who raged about what a wonderful woman my mother was and that I should be ashamed of myself for being disrespectful. He also immediately blocked me. Am I the asshole for not being more careful about how I share that information? For context, I said something along the lines of, I guess I could stop researching nursing homes and posted it because I wanted people to know, but didn't want to text a million people individually. And I still use Facebook because I'm, a social media fogey. My mom wasn't really in contact with anyone except for her sister. The rest of the family that I'm friends with were either not close or well aware of how difficult she could be. So, am I the asshole for how I announced my mother's death?
I think it's funny. I mean,
It's funny too.
you can't judge someone's relationship with their family. Like, that's for them. Like, who cares what
Mhm.
other people are doing? Like, I can't stand when others are trying to micromanage and tell people what to do and how to think and what to believe. Like, that's their relationship. And if she wants to make a little bit light of it, a little joke, maybe that's going to help her process her own emotions, process their relationship. What's wrong with that? I got no problems.
So not the asshole.
Lex, what do you
Cheers.
think?
Yes, not.
Not. I don't think they were the asshole at all. I think that was their way. Like, they had a relationship with their mother and that's how they wanted to handle it. Then they have every right.
I have to agree, not the asshole. I wrote a piece some time ago called You Can Be Dead and Still Be a Dick, and about folks who have complicated relationships. And, you know, that grief looks different. But even though it looks differently, it's still grief. And someone else can't micromanage how you choose to grieve. So I fully agree, not the asshole. Interestingly enough, the people on Reddit say that she's the asshole. I'm assuming it's a she. I don't know why. Assuming that they're the asshole. And which is interesting. And that just shows that we have some work to do with these conversations. But I love that we're all in agreement. I don't think we've all been in agreement before on one of these, have we, Alexis?
I don't think so.
I think this is the first time.
We always disagreed. Yeah.
Wow, I should have went the other way.
You should have went asshole. No, this is the first time.
Well, Michael, it's been so much fun chatting with you. Thank you so much for coming on and having a little sip with us. You want to tell the people where they can find you?
Yeah, sure. Any social medias, Mortuary Marketing, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Mortuary Show. I had Alexis and Shannon on, and that episode is going to be coming out shortly here too. So you should listen to them on there, and you can find some more funeral fun content and all that good stuff. But I do appreciate you having me on. It's so fun. I love what you're both doing. You're making a difference in the lives of not only people in funeral service, but the general public too. You're making an impact, and we need to stick together so that we can continue having that profound impact on those that need it on the most difficult times.
Absolutely. Thank you.
For sure.
And you're stuck with us now. We're friends now. You're stuck with us now.
We're friends now.
We're friends now.
We got to meet up in person for real.
Yeah. You got to come to California.
I know.
Yes.
Oh, we'd show you a good time.
I believe it.
You have fun out here.
Mm-hmm. So, as always, you can find me everywhere at I Do Death, except on TikTok, where I am I.do.death, because there's a hater over there who took I Do Death first. I'm going to say that one day she'll just give it up. I have it. I can feel it in my spirit.
Yeah, pay her like $8 and see.
If you pay her enough, I'm sure she will. Maybe.
$8.
$6. And you can find me. I have $3. You can find me on everything at Death with Lex.
Yep. And then, of course, you can follow the show on Instagram at Get Stiff Podcast and keep up with what we're doing. And as always, this has been another episode of Get Stiff, Stiff Talk.
Stiff drinks.
And we out.
Cheers.
Get Stiff is produced by Milan Reed. Do you love us and want to help others find the show? If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. For all audio platforms, please rate and review the show. It helps others find us, and we'd love to know what you think. Do you have a topic you want to hear us get into? A drink recipe you'd like to recommend? Do you have a story to share? We want to hear from you. Get in touch at getstiffpodcast@gmail.com or reach out on Instagram at getstiffpodcast.